I'm Jerry the Germ with a Speak Up and Stay Alive healthcare and hospital safety snippet just for you. Here's our expert, Pat Rulo.
Hey, Jerry, did you know that people are talking dirty and don't even know it? What do I mean? Think of cell phones and office telephones. Talk about germ collection devices. The germs on a person's hands go onto the phone, and a lot of respiratory viruses are expelled when you talk, sneeze, or cough. Thousands of people each year miss time from work thanks to all of this dirty talk. Don't waste your money on avoidable doctor visits and out-of-pocket medical expenses. Staying safe is easy. Invite me to speak to your employees. We'll have fun as you learn how to keep a clean and germ-free workplace. And Jerry, what are you doing on the bottom of that lady's purse?
Stay safe. Listen to Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio. For more information, go to speakupandstayalive.com.
Welcome to Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio with author, speaker, and your host, Pat Rulo.
Serving you a generous helping of everything you need to know to help you and your loved ones stay safe during any doctor or hospital visit.
The program is not intended to replace medical advice from a licensed professional, but rather to encourage you to become a well-informed participant in your health and well-being. And now, your host, Pat Rulo.
Hello, I'm Pat Rulo, always looking forward to today so I can share what I know with you. And this week, I know a lot, as I've been skywatching lately. You may ask, what does the sky have to do with healthcare and hospital safety? Well, what's going on in the sky is having a direct impact on our health. Many of us have symptoms that we cannot explain. Our doctors don't have the answers other than to prescribe a medication that always has some sort of side effect, whether we feel it or not. It's a fact that I'm sure you'll agree with. What we eat, drink, and breathe has an effect on our bodies, and ultimately the health or dis-ease of our bodies. Almost every day, as I play with the cat, I watch planes fly back and forth, leaving trails of white lines behind them. The trails last for hours and look quite different from other clouds. Many times days that start out sunny soon become hazy due to all of the trails. Are these planes on a new and bizarre flight pattern, simply leaving water vapors behind them? Or is it chemtrails, trails of chemicals being emitted from these planes? Well, because the idea and the word chemtrails leads some to think of conspiracy theories, I hesitated to talk about it with you. But that all changed as I began to spend more time watching the skies and doing intense research. Let me share. At an international symposium held in Ghent, Belgium, a few years back, scientists asserted that, quote, manipulation of climate through modification of cirrus clouds is neither a hoax nor a conspiracy theory, unquote. It is fully operational with a solid 60-year history. The military-industrial complex stands poised to capitalize on controlling the world's weather. Going under a variety of names, atmospheric geoengineering, weather modification, chemical buffering, cloud seeding, toxic aerial spraying is popularly known as chemtrail, and this is a technique employed to modify weather. Now, the only conspiracy surrounding geoengineering is that most governments and industries refuse to publicly admit what anyone with eyes can see. And as I researched, it's obvious that peer-reviewed research is available to anyone willing to take the time to wade through all of the scientific journals. So while there is some disclosure on the topic, full public explanation is seriously lacking. Here's more of what I found. According to an article from the Center for Research on Globalization, days after warning, I've got a pen and I've got a phone, and if Congress won't do its job, I'll do mine, Obama met with his national security team to green light a new climate change project. Call me the Rainmaker, he told the group assembled, alluding to the plan's code name, Rainmaker. Reasons for a brutal winter in the United States finally explained. A heavily redacted copy of a classified report titled America Cools Down on Climate outlines the audacious plan to use commercial air traffic to mitigate the growing impacts of climate change across the United States. The plan falls under the category of what is known as geoengineering, the attempt by humans to slow, stop, or even reverse global warming by manipulating the environment instead of aiming to slow greenhouse gas emissions themselves. Geoengineering examples include injecting particles into the stratosphere to reflect sunlight back into the space, and dumping iron into the ocean to enhance the uptake of atmospheric carbon dioxide by oceanic phytoplankton. But such fertilization would come at the expense of creatures that make their shells out of calcium carbonate and could potentially slow photosynthesis, the exact opposite of what the geoengineering scheme had intended to do. Well, according to an insider who insists on anonymity to avoid, as he put it, getting Snowdenized, the president assembled the Joint Chief of Staffs together in the War Room last March to set the geoengineering plan in motion. According to the America Cools Down on Climate report, the country's extended drought spurred the president's action. The section reads, "The prolonged and severe droughts in the country's agricultural heartlands are threatening our ability to feed our people and undermining our economy. We must take every step possible to provide greater amounts of fresh water to the Midwest and Southwest through manipulating large-scale circulation patterns such as the jet stream. Put simply, rainmaking, or more specifically, snowmaking, is a must." The report concludes that the most effective way to put the kibosh on the U.S. drought is to increase wintertime snow, which would provide a key water source in the spring when crops emerge. The best way to do that? Manipulate the jet stream to a more southern trajectory during wintertime to create a polar vortex that would create intense snowstorms. The report recognizes that this would mean harsh winter conditions for many parts of the country. This is from last year, but the report predicts Americans will suffer this winter, but consumers will be thankful next year when the price of a Coke drops, thanks to lowered high fructose corn syrup prices spurred by a bumper crop. Woohoo! Shouldn't be drinking Coke, and high fructose corn syrup is genetically modified poison. So much for that argument. Well, when General Martin Dempsey, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, reportedly asked of the risks of a political backlash, the president responded, "Marty, if we can take down Osama on a wing and a prayer, manipulating the climate is child's play." Well, it may seem incredible, but it worked. Last winter, the United States saw repeated intense polar vortex episodes with one of the coldest winters in 20 years, and snowfall breaking records in many areas of the Northeast and Midwest. Jeez. So why should you care? Well, besides organizations, governments, and industry being arrogant enough to think that they have the right to alter nature, I ask, what are the health ramifications? How long can mankind exist while breathing, eating, and living in this toxic soup? Oh, that's right. We're worried about global warming and feeding our nation. So we chemically alter the weather to create what? Wow. Does anyone else see the sheer stupidity in this? And because it is so obvious that humanity will not survive this constant onslaught of artificial chemicals landing on us, our food, and our water, I think that's where the whole conspiracy idea comes in. I mean, it's clear that spraying the skies with heavy metals is going to backfire because who are we, or who are they, to mess with nature? So if it's that obvious to simple-minded people, the smart government and big industry surely can figure it out too. So there must be something more to it. Just saying. If someone is so unbelievably arrogant to think that he is, quote, unquote, the rainmaker, well, I'm going to stop here because I have a special guest with us today who is going to help make some sense of this. So let's get started. You're listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive, Patient Safety Radio, and I am your hostess, Pat Rulo, known for bringing you up-to-date information about health hazards seldom discussed by your doctors or seldom exposed on mainstream media outlets. Well, I decided to invite today's guest on the show after I did a search on the internet for chemtrails. So with that, today's guest is Russ Tanner, founder of Global Skywatch, an organization raising awareness about the many dangers of geoengineering. Russ has suffered and recovered from mercury toxicity and educates others on how to do the same. He's been interviewed on numerous radio and internet programs and has published articles and given lectures on the dangers of amalgam fillings, mercury toxicity, geoengineering-related illnesses, and geopolitics. So with that, welcome to the show, Russ.
Hi, Pat. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. So much to talk about. But today, let's focus solely on these chemtrails, since that's what initially led me to you. Give us a quick chemtrails for dummies version. What does the word mean, and how long has this been going on?
The word chemtrail is short for chemical trail, and if you look up in the sky, it is those trails that you see coming out of jets. It has been going on for decades. It has become increasingly apparent and clear in the sky that this has been concentrated from the late 90s and continued to appear in more cities throughout all the way up to 2005 to the point now where it's just about everywhere. And that's what chemtrails are.
So now what's in these chemtrails?
The idea of chemtrails came about by, the public has learned about them from patents and from the talk in conferences that have been going on around the world, in conferences that are called geoengineering conferences. And this is where scientists get together and they study techniques for combating climate change. And one of the theories for combating this is by spraying pollution particles into the atmosphere, or metallic particles, to reflect the sunlight away from the Earth. Now, this is one of the theories. This is one of the techniques that they wanted to use to combat this. And so what we're seeing now mimics what we're seeing in the patents for this process of geoengineering. We're seeing in tests around the United States and in Europe. Many people are testing rainwater. I myself tested rainwater. And to answer your question, what's in it, we're finding all kinds of things in the rainwater that are not supposed to be there that correlate with the spraying of these particulates, including aluminum, barium, strontium. Some people are finding mercury and other toxic metals that really should raise people's eyebrows. So this is being found in rainwater and in soil testing and in dust collections from air filter equipment, and it's being found way out of proportion. The test that I did in Maine, near Bangor, Maine, showed aluminum in the water at 600 parts per billion, which is 5 times higher than that which is allowed in drinking water by the EPA. And in California, there are places where it's over 100 times above the EPA limits that's allowed in drinking water. Very, very high amounts of aluminum.
Wow, so obviously not safe for consumption.
No, actually, it's just amazing because the rainwater is now too toxic to drink. Mm-hmm. And it fits with the patents that show aluminum and other toxic metals, but aluminum is the predominant metal that we're finding. And it just matches right up with the patents we see and the talk in these geoengineering conferences being held by scientists around the world. They say they're going to do it in the future, but yet we're seeing the artifacts of them doing it right now.
Mm-hmm. So what is that doing to the soil as well?
Well, this is a very big problem because not only is it destroying animal life, we've had numerous animal die-offs for those who have been paying attention over the past decade, just unexplained. Nobody really knows what the problem is and what the cause is. But what it's doing to the soil is it's raising the acidity of the soil. It changes the pH of the soil, and it causes lower production in crops. It causes the root systems to shrink up because plants basically try to protect themselves from aluminum by limiting their uptake from the soils. Now, there is aluminum in soil naturally, right, earth crust, but it's bound, and it's not free for uptake by plants, and it's in a form called bauxite, which is why the process for mining aluminum is very complicated and difficult because it's bound up. But this aluminum we're finding is freely available and is affecting and stunting the root systems in plants and limiting their productivity.
Right. And they're probably not nutritionally as sound as they would be otherwise, and so we just perpetuate that problem when we eat the plants and the animals that are grazing and growing in that soil, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, aluminum is very toxic to all life. You know, there is no biologically necessary function in humans or in plants in any mammals for aluminum. It actually is an immune suppressant. It's a neurological toxin. It's been associated with Alzheimer's disease. It's been with thyroid issues, fatigue, joint issues, and all kinds of deranged mineral transport issues in humans.
Well, I think the next obvious logical question is, why are these being sprayed and who is doing the spraying? And I know that that's a huge topic that we can probably spend hours on, but maybe just give us a little bit of insight into that.
Yeah, it really is a huge topic, and it's kind of like a rabbit hole that goes pretty deep. But on its surface, there is no open admission. The governments all deny that it's taking place. Yet in Bangor, I would see literally a jet every 2 minutes spraying. So it's a massive operation, and I have reports from people all over the world. I'm kind of a nexus for people who contact me about this and post on my website and on my forum and in my Facebook group. We have about 23,000 people in our Facebook group who are concerned about this right now. It's happening all over the United States and all over Western Europe. And what this tells us is that it's a huge coordinated government effort, because who else would have access to the airspace?
Right.
So it must be a government-sponsored operation or military operation. And it obviously just huge because it's coinciding with all of the geoengineering conferences that have been going on for the last 10 years all over the world. The best guess that we have is that it is, at least in part, for engineering the atmosphere to reflect sunlight.
So the politically correct answer is to combat global warming?
That is the politically correct answer, yes. I believe that there are multiple causes that you can always go down that rabbit hole, and it gets very, very compelling and very, very interesting the deeper you look. But on the surface, that seems to be the official answer that's not yet being given to us, but it's being inferred by the scientific community and the governments.
Okay. Well, I am going to take us somewhere, a little sidestep here, because just about a half hour ago, I received an email from one of our listeners who knew that you were going to be on the show. And I want to read to you and to our listeners what his answer is. He says, atmospheric control programs are clearly an insanity at a functional social level. The discussion should be 100% focused on direct remediation efforts, not speculations as to the motives involved. Then he says, these are massively funded extermination programs controlled by insurance, banking, and geopolitical control groups operating through the United Nations. Geoengineering and weather manipulation projects are in fact an essential part of the United Nations Agenda 21 and are often directly sponsored by NASA. These programs are designed to impair any possibility of a national, regional, or populist resistance. Many populations will soon become too ill to protest effectively. The program objective involves complete and total control over the entire planet. It is not a religious experiment. It is an experiment in insanity, and no one will live to tell the story. I wasn't going to share that, but it just, as we're speaking, I thought, well, what do you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that I completely disagree with any of that. When you dig deeper into the people who are funding this and what their philosophies are, there are things that are pretty shocking to realize, that people in the United States and in the United Nations do have population control agendas, eugenics agendas, very strong. Eric Holder, the science czar, has very strong population control beliefs, even to the point of saying it should be done without public knowledge. So when you look at the results of a program like this, you can't say the scientists are ignorant of what the results are going to be. You can't say we're going to drop 30 million tons of nanoparticle or small particle aluminum on the population without knowing that it's going to shorten lifespans dramatically, and it's going to cause tremendous illness, respiratory issues, suppressed immune system, opportunistic infections, neurological disease. That is what is going to happen, and any scientist would know that. So it's hard to say that I could disagree with most of what was written in that email.
Okay, all right. I want to dangle that out there for folks that are listening. We're not going to go into that today, but Russ, you and I and my co-host on another radio show called Boil the Frog Slowly, we're going to go there. So to all my friends listening, you can visit the website to hear more about this and to hear our full interview with Russ at boilthefrogradio.com. So let's hit some of the other high points. I've had folks wondering, do commercial airlines that carry passengers, are they spraying too?
Well, there is some speculation that some commercial airlines are spraying or involved in the process. I don't know that for sure. In my own observations, I've observed the sky all my life. I've always been into the technology involved in flying, and I've lived in the most busy airspaces in the world. And I can tell you that the type of engines that are used on all large jets, which include the military jets and commercial jets, are called high bypass turbofans. And high bypass turbofans do not create trails, not long trails, not short trails, unless they're water injection, which are very rare. There are water injection engines like the CFM SPAY 512, which are used on the BAC 111s, for those of you who know anything about jets and planes. But there's only about 50 of those in operation, and mostly in Europe. I've never seen a trail come out of a jet. Most people rarely, if ever, have, and that's because they don't produce those. So it is happening over the populated areas, and these jets should not be producing trails to begin with. So just on a side note, I would implore people, if you look up and you see airliners, whether they look like airliners or most of the ones that I see are blank, just silver, unmarked jets. I mean, in fact, that's all I've ever seen, except in the very beginning I did see ones with red engines and a red tail, but I couldn't see any markings, but they flew very, very low. But there are a few people who've reported seeing jets that look like airliners, commercial airliners.
Interesting. And now I think that people are starting to catch wind of this. They're probably flying at higher altitudes so that maybe the trails aren't as noticeable.
That is exactly right. In fact, I saw that happen 3 times. I lived in Jamestown, New York. I moved to Bangor, Maine, and now I live in Philadelphia. And in each place I saw where they changed overnight, they changed the spraying from very low altitudes to the point where it was just astonishingly low. Like, why are these huge jets, 747s, DC-9, 737s, flying at such low altitudes, to high altitude spraying overnight? When I first moved here about 7 months ago, every single day it looked like a war zone in the sky, absolute war zone. And I wonder, why are people not noticing this?
Yes.
I know I've never seen anything like this before this spring started. And 6 weeks ago, all of a sudden, all the trails you can see are so high and so short that you can hardly even see them. So dramatic change in 3 instances. So it looks like it's trying to be kept from the public eye.
Very, very interesting. Now, as they're spraying, eventually it makes its way through the atmosphere and settles on the ground. I mean, if we're standing outside and we see these planes flying overhead, are we immediately being misted by that, or how long does it take for the vapors to actually hit the ground or perhaps hit us?
Well, very good question. There are some people, about 1 or 2% of the population, have a very accentuated sense of taste and smell. And that is how I became aware of this, besides being an avid skywatcher, because I do taste and smell it. I'm one of the lucky 2%. And let me tell you, it tastes like metal. It tastes like aluminum dust, and sometimes it tastes like acetone. Some people report smelling like paint, which is somewhat of an acetone flavor. And I've paid attention to how long it takes to descend. And originally when they were flying at the very low altitudes, it was only about 30 or 40 minutes before I would start to smell and taste it when they would start the spraying program each day. Now that they're at the higher altitudes, it seems to me it takes anywhere from an hour to 2.5 hours to reach the ground. In some cases, I believe it stays aloft even longer than that.
Now, you are witnessing yourself some of the effects of this as far as a metal, like say a metallic taste in your mouth. Are there other health symptoms that you're experiencing or that people that are sensitive to this would experience?
Absolutely. There are a lot of symptoms that people are experiencing. Most of them, let me just go for the big ones right off the bat. There's been a dramatic rise in aneurysms, strokes, heart attacks, and cancer. And this is what I've witnessed, to the point where people contact me who don't know about the spraying. They go, my God, what is going on? Why are so many people sick? Well, small particle aluminum clogs up your capillaries and leads to aneurysms and strokes. I have a friend who works for the state, and they had 3 aneurysms in their office during a very, very heavy spray day within an hour of each other. 3. We've also had instances in Texas where they had something like 70-plus transformers short out that were on the poles. They started arcing and shorting out. And this is what happens when you put too much metal in the air and it becomes very conductive. Of course, you cause cancer. That the more particulates you breathe in and the smaller the particulates are, the shorter your lifespan will be. And most people experience, fatigue, headache, sinus pain, muscle pain, joint pain, depression, even panic attacks, anxiety, hyperactivity, insomnia, even tooth decay, because aluminum blocks calcium metabolism, anxiety, irritability issues, concentration issues, ringing in the ears, changes in eyesight over time, and the list goes on and on, because these are very toxic substances, obviously.
You know what's rough about that list is that it mimics so many other horrible things that are going on, such as the radiation from cell towers and smartphones, and that sounds like the same list of symptoms that we talk about there. And that made interesting connect the dots moment. It's been proven that just a few minutes of holding a cell phone to your ear causes breaks in the blood-brain barrier, which then would create an increased access for toxins such as mercury and aluminum from these chemtrails to enter the brain, thus causing health problems and disease.
Absolutely. I mean, in fact, that's an incredibly valid point. At the National Institutes for Health website, there's actually a study that shows that when people are exposed to RF radiation, like from a cell phone or from cell towers or other RF radiation, it dramatically not only increases the permeability of the blood-brain barrier, as you mentioned, but it also increases the permeability of cell walls. So there were even military experiments decades ago that tested the concept of killing a population with very, very low levels of contaminants, but combining those contaminants with RF radiation that made cell walls so permeable that otherwise benign toxin levels became fatal. Mm-hmm. So that is a very valid and very important point, that it does increase the permeability of both the blood-brain barrier and cell walls.
And if you're really thinking that depopulation is the end game here, what a great way to do this. How can you point a finger at anything?
Well, that's extremely true. And I mean, there are people like Henry Frederick Osborn who were powerful or at least very influential in government back in the 30s and was a eugenicist. He was actually appointed to positions in government by Roosevelt. And people don't know this part of history, unfortunately. And he made a statement saying that eugenics goals will most likely be accomplished secretly and by telling the public that it is being done by other means than eugenics. So, again, the deeper you look down this rabbit hole, the more interesting it gets, especially when you look at people like Eric Holder and the people who are in government in powerful positions, what they believe. It gets very, very interesting very quickly.
Absolutely. And today's goal is to touch that surface and kind of excite people to do a little bit more research. Now, I was thinking also this morning, there's big news here in Northeast Ohio about the enterovirus D68, the respiratory virus that seems to be going around that's attacking young children in school. And you see all these hospitals with little kids on respirators and all. And you just mentioned the spraying obviously causes respiratory problems, outbreaks of respiratory illnesses. There could be a connection?
Absolutely. I will tell you this, is that I had a heart attack in 2011, and that heart attack was caused by inflammation and by primarily a depletion of potassium in my body. Now, barium, one of the substances that are used in the spraying, has caused me tremendous heart pain. I stayed in the hospital for 4 days. On the second night, they sprayed Bangor, which is where I was, so intensely that I had to have a friend bring in some wet washcloths that I put over my face. I call it a wet mask, and I had to breathe through that all night because it was just a horrible night of spraying, horrible night of spraying. My nurse, who was supposed to come by several times for some tests, was gone for an 8-hour stretch. And make a long story short, the nurse showed up 8 hours later and said, "I am very sorry. I don't know what's going on in this hospital, but everybody gets sick at the same time. We have respiratory issues, heart issues, and they call in people, and I've been called to other floors to deal with this." And I'm laying there saying, well, I know exactly what's going on as somebody who can smell and taste the intensity of this in the air. But because these people don't smell and taste it, they don't make the correlation. Yep. And everybody is suffering on some level. If nothing else, your lifespan has already been shortened by it.
And I'm sure that people are asking the question in their minds, is this legal? And you've got an excellent page on your website that goes there. So I really encourage folks to look that up. But help us briefly with that.
Absolutely. Very interestingly, I do have a page on our website that talks about Public Law 105-85. I encourage people to look it up. This is called the use of human subjects for testing of chemical or biological agents. And basically what this law says is the government cannot test anything on the public unless, and here I quote, unless it's for any peaceful purpose related to medical, therapeutic, pharmaceutical, agricultural, industrial, or research activity, or any purpose directly related to protection against toxic chemicals, biological weapons, and agents, or any law enforcement purpose, including the purpose related to riot control. So basically, they say we can't test anything on the public unless it's for any reason we want.
Right.
That's what the law says, and I encourage people to look up Public Law 105-85 from November 18th, 1997.
You can't do it, but here's the places you can do it, and there's nothing left out.
Exactly. It's incredible irony. People don't know that laws like this exist in the United States.
Mm-hmm. And then tell us about the consent portion of that.
Here's how consent works, is that in this law it says informed consent is required. So the Secretary of Defense may conduct or test an experiment on the public, but informed consent must be obtained. The problem is that, and most people and lawyers look at this and say, oh, well, informed consent, that means we would all know. It doesn't mean we would all know, because this law falls under the purview of commerce law, the Uniform Commercial Code law. And that is completely different, because informed consent under the UCC means that as long as we publish the law in a place that's accessible to the public, right, then you've been informed.
Right.
So it's a completely different mentality. This law is publicly available for people, so therefore it considers the public as consenting to the testing.
Right. They're saying, we've given you your due notice, and since you didn't speak up and say anything about it, that was your silent consent.
Exactly, which is why when you go to court, they say ignorance of the law is no excuse. You're responsible to know the, 5 billion pages of law that exist in the world today, or in your country.
All right, so now that we know that law is there, what can we really do about it? So as an individual person, what can we do to deny consent?
Well, the number one thing we can do right now is denying consent is good, but we have to have denied consent on a mass scale. There needs to be a mass awareness of what is going on, because without the proper numbers of people, we're not going to have the political clout that we need to get the politicians to be responsive to this issue. So the number one thing to do right now is wake up your neighbor, look at the testing, visit our websites. There's several websites you can go to get detailed information, soil tests, do your own rainwater test, because they're coming up high in aluminum all over the place. That's the first thing. The second thing is you can file a notice of non-consent with your local government, and eventually when we get enough of those filed, we can go to court, demand that the spraying stops, and take it from there. Of course, they deny that the spraying is taking place at the moment, which makes it rather difficult, but nevertheless, waking up the public is our first step right now.
And this is at your website, this information?
Yeah, you can get all of this from our website, yes.
All right, and will you tell us that again?
It's globalskywatch.com.
All right. Wow. So are we missing anything? I know we're missing lots, but just overview today. Is there anything that we should be touching on that we're not?
Well, the bottom line is that the deeper you look at this subject, the more you turn up, the more you realize that people in high places of government have belief systems that if you would know how they look at the public and view the public and the contempt they have for the population, they never should be in the positions that they're in. So this subject goes very, very deep. I encourage people to do their research, learn on their own, and please wake up your friends and neighbors about this before too many people get sick. Too many more people get sick or die from it.
Absolutely. We're only touching the outermost points of this topic, so I encourage everyone listening to visit Russ's website, globalskywatch.com, and check out boilthefrogradio.com. We'll have a full 52-minute interview with Russ on that website as well. Russ, thank you for sharing your expertise with us today.
You're welcome. My pleasure, Pat.
What a
Thank
pleasure.
you for having me.
Thank you. And with that, let's hear some legal news you can use. You've heard me talk about my attorney friends at Schraff & King, and I know many of you have taken my advice and contacted them to help you with your advanced directives. Things like a healthcare power of attorney, living will, help with information about the Do Not Resuscitate form, and more. But today I want to share with you something that really underscores just why I suggest that you work with the folks at Schraff & King and why they are on this program. As we get older, our legal needs may change as we navigate through Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, veterans benefits, disability, and nursing home issues. Therefore, we require help from people who demonstrate a serious commitment to our needs. There are many important reasons to choose a certified elder law attorney, but let me share just two. In order to become certified by the National Elder Law Foundation a licensed attorney must have, number 1, spent an average of at least 16 hours a week practicing elder law during the 3 years preceding the application for certification. The attorney must have also handled at least 60 elder law matters during those 3 years, with a specified distribution among a wide variety of topics. That's a lot of time and a lot of experience. And maybe that's why Schraff and King are one of only a few practices within the state of Ohio that actually have a certified elder law attorney within their group. And number 2, the attorney must have participated in at least 45 hours of continuing legal education in elder law during the 3 years preceding the application. There are additional requirements, but when I learned of these two, I just knew I had to share this with you. Attorneys certified in elder law offer you something that other attorneys do not. So don't go anywhere else. Contact the folks at Schraff and King today. They're located in Willoughby Hills, just south of State Route 6 and Interstate 91. And you can call them at 440-585-1600. That's 440-585-1600. Or visit them online at schraffking.com. And be sure to let them know that you heard about them here on Speak Up and Stay Alive. Again, it's 440-585-1600. 440-585-1600. Call them today.
Tired of the same old presentations?
Can you forward to slide 38, please?
Are you looking for a new, out-of-the-box topic for your next event? Want your group to leave inspired, informed, and satisfied? No PowerPoint presentations and dim lights here. No snoring or snoozing goes on during Pat's presentations. To help your entire group, organization, business, or church stay safe during any healthcare or hospital experience, invite Pat to speak. Pick a topic from her website or request your own. Visit her website, speakupandstayalive.com, or call Pat to discuss how she can make your next event fun, enlightening, and life-saving. Want testimonials? Go to the bulletin board link at the website for color pictures and comments from real people. Again, it's speakupandstayalive.com or call 440-725-5462. That's 440-725-5462.
Hot. Bring the heat.
And now, your host, Pat Rouleau.
You're listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive, Patient Safety Radio. I am your hostess, Pat Rouleau. So happy to spend this hour with you to help you survive any healthcare or hospital encounter. Well, today we have a special friend and a frequent voice on this radio program here to join the boys in a rousing game of Are You in Jeopardy? Or Are You Safe? She is Hari Khalsa, the healthcare whisperer, a patient advocate, a guide, a patient's best friend, if and when you need help navigating this most of the time confusing and complex healthcare system of ours. Welcome to the show, Hari.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I'm ready for the games.
Well, now, this is not your first game show with us, but it's your first time at Jeopardy, right?
Oh, yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right, so let's introduce our players.
Now entering the studio with today's contestants.
I'm Bob. I'm a former financial planner from Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
I'm Eric. I'm a regionally famous radio producer from Northeast Ohio.
I'm Hari Khalsa, and I'm president of Healthcare Whisper, a patient advocacy company.
These people will compete today on
Are You in Jeopardy? Or Are You Safe? All right, so there we have it, all of our game players and contestants, and plus we have our dedicated to patient safety listeners from all over the globe. All of you will compete today on Are You in Jeopardy? Or Are You Safe? All right, guys, you ready?
Let's go for it.
Let's go.
All right. Ready. Good crowd. All right, here's the first scenario. You need to get a diagnostic MRI. There's a local freestanding facility close to your home. You make an appointment and think, it doesn't matter where I go. They wouldn't be in business if they weren't safe. Are you in jeopardy or are you safe? Go ahead, Bobby.
I think you're in jeopardy because you don't know if that's a... First thing you want to do is find out if that's a certified MRI company, making sure they're certified to do that.
All right, good idea. Anyone else?
Yeah, I would say Jeopardy. It sounds like whoever that is just picked name out of the phone book and didn't do any further research than that.
So, yeah, I agree with everybody, and if you do your research, there's a good possibility that it's safe, but you have to do your research.
Exactly. It could very well be safe. One thing you could do, ask if they are certified by the American College of Radiology.
If it meets all the criteria, then yeah, it's okay.
Then you're safe. All right, good. We're safe and not safe. Excellent.
Right.
All right, here's scenario number 2. Your daughter attends your doctor visit with you. She asks about some of your medications. The provider refuses to share that information and cites the HIPAA privacy law. Are you in jeopardy or are you safe?
Well, can I go?
Oh, please.
I would say that you're in jeopardy because if you've okayed for your daughter to talk to you, you've brought her with you, then she has every right to have that information. And if you don't want your daughter to know and you've told the doctor that you don't want her to know, then you're safe. But I would say it's a jeopardy issue.
In that situation.
I would say, I think if you've bothered to bring your daughter with you to the appointment, you probably do want her to know about this stuff. So, yeah, I'd say jeopardy.
I agree. What do you think, Bobby?
I think if you bring your daughter, definitely, you've done it for a reason. And the reason is she needs to know.
I agree. Even when the patient is not present, I understand, or it's impossible because of emergency circumstances, that a doctor can share that information with the person when they're exercising their professional judgment, that it determines that doing so would be the best interest of the patient. I mean, that's what HIPAA is all about, ultimately, isn't it, Hari, that it's something that's in the best interest of the patient?
Right. That's what it's supposed to be, yes.
All right. Not all the time.
Not all the time.
Okay. All right, guys, here's scenario number 3. You have to get up every morning at 5:15 to get ready for work. You sleep with your smartphone under your pillow and set the alarm. What a handy-dandy way to wake up. Are you in jeopardy or are you safe?
I want to say jeopardy. Yeah, due to radiation.
You got it. What do you think, Bobby?
Well, we know for a fact that the radio frequencies could be dangerous. So you don't want to get them that close.
I agree with everyone. You have to, we don't really know. There's not enough research data to know really what's going on with all the radiation from all these devices that are being emitted everywhere. So I would say jeopardy.
I agree. I say don't sleep with your phone. Bedtime is the time to rest and rejuvenate your body and not bathe it in any potential radio frequencies. All righty, here is scenario number 4. Your 85-year-old grandfather visits a new dentist and, by the way, has excellent dental insurance. The new dentist sends him home with a treatment plan that includes 3 root canals. Is your grandfather in jeopardy or is he safe?
I'm happy to take that one. I'd say he's in jeopardy. First of all, there's no insurance that's going to pay for 3 root canals. That's the first thing. And second, unless he'd been complaining, because I don't have the information, unless he'd been really complaining of pain, I would be really surprised of 3 root canals all of a sudden. I mean, it could be, but I'd have to really question that.
Exactly.
Yeah, jeopardy. For such a drastic course of treatment, you'd want a second opinion.
It's a little questionable, taking advantage of seniors. So I think you're in jeopardy.
And Eric, you mentioned a second opinion. And Hari, we did a little segment once on second opinions and how, wow, if you get an unusual or a sudden diagnosis, I think a second opinion is always in order, don't you?
I agree. And sometimes all you need to do is take your x-rays. That's how they would have to have diagnosed a root canal and get somebody else to look at them.
Anytime you get a bizarre diagnosis, have someone else look at it. All righty, here's scenario number 5 and our final one. You receive a medical bill for items you never incurred. You get the runaround during every phone call to dispute this. Are you in jeopardy or are you safe?
Oh, I definitely think you're in jeopardy there. If I know they're wrong, I'm going to raise Cain about it.
Well, this doesn't really sound like a health concern, but I could say that your financial health is in jeopardy.
Absolutely.
Your mental health is too, Eric.
That's true. It's the stress level of it.
Oh, I agree, because especially if it's a large bill, with a lot of, so many hospital bills are like that, things you didn't have, and those can be very costly, and billing offices don't have any trouble sending this off to collections if they don't get what they want. And, within what they consider a reasonable time, which is usually 3 months. So, yeah, I think you're in jeopardy, and you have to act fast. Which, push comes to shove, and you're not getting what you want, my next stop is the State Attorney General's office.
Oh, that's a good idea, because I was thinking the same thing, because as soon as you don't pay it, boy, it goes to your credit scores, and those still get reported, the medical bills that you don't pay, even if they're wrong, and then it's almost impossible to get them removed. So, yeah, you help people with this type of thing, do you?
Oh, yes. Yeah, and I can definitely help with billing issues.
You got like $1 million hospital bill, and you say, oh, no, I never got that medication. Well, how do you prove that?
Medical records. You have to get your medical records. So here's the process. You sign that HIPAA form, go down to medical records, get a copy of your medical records, and get someone who understands what they're looking at. Well, the other thing is you have to get an itemized bill. So you really have to see exactly what they charged you for and how often. And then look at the medical notes. And then you have to put it together and you have to contest it. And that's the only way that you're going to get bills resolved. And it's an endless fight, and it can go on for a very long time, but you can't give up.
And who can do that when you're sick? So I'm going to suggest that if our listeners have any questions, need help, they can contact Hari. How can we find you, Hari?
You can call me at 866-980-4325, 866-980-4325, or my email is heal, H-E-A-L, at healthcarewhisperer.com.
Well, thank you, everyone. We had a lot of good information. Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Eric.
You're welcome.
And Hari, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much. I really had fun.
Well, I'm not sure who won that, but I think you're all winners, yeah?
No, I just want my rice-a-roni.
What's with the rice-a-roni?
It's the Jeopardy.
He thinks that's a parting gift.
I'd rather have that than the Broy Hill furniture.
No, sorry.
Yeah, okay.
I'll take a copy of the home game.
Oh, that's right. We need a home game of this. You guys, well, listen, thank you, everyone, for playing our newest and our most fun game ever. Are you in jeopardy or are you safe? Don't go anywhere. There's so much more you can learn about healthcare and hospital safety on America's favorite and perhaps only patient safety radio show, Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio. Thank you, Hari.
Oh, that was great. I love your games. Only any time for your games. I get such a kick out of them. Yeah.
This message is for healthcare providers and hospitals. Wouldn't you love to improve your patient satisfaction survey scores? And is it always a poor experience that causes a negative survey? Or could it be patient frustration when patients or family members feel they have no easy way to voice their immediate concerns and are forced to air it after the fact on a written survey form? So why not offer a feedback system in real time that allows both you and the patient to address and resolve problems in the moment? Benchmarking Group International has the solution, the Patient Angle, a software solution that offers real-time delivery of patient feedback, and that includes compliments too. See it for yourself and request a complimentary, no-obligation 30-minute demonstration. Visit benchgroupint.com. That's benchgroupint.com, or call 703-688-2860. That's 703-688-2860. After the show, be sure to visit the website, speakupandstayalive.com, for more life-saving information. Plus, that's where you can purchase the book, Speak Up and Stay Alive, The Patient Advocate Hospital Survival Guide. Bring the book to the hospital with you. It's the best way to stand out, and in a positive way. Give a meaningful and useful gift that really says, I care. Give the gift of healthcare safety. Purchase the book, the patient safety logs, and throw in some of those icebreaker cards. It's a one-size-fits-all present that everybody needs. You can order online at speakupandstayalive.com, or you can request by email at speakupandstayalive.com, or call me 440-725-5462. You're listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive, Patient Safety Radio, and I am your hostess, Pat Rulo. Short on time today, but just a reminder, if you belong to a church, club, a group, or any kind of an organization that needs a speaker, I'm here for you. Give me an hour and your group will walk out saying that it was the best presentation they've heard. And if you want testimonials, check out the bulletin board link at our website, speakupandstayalive.com, or call or email me and I'll give you the names of prior attendees and meeting planners. We're fun, fast, informative, and so not boring. Call me to schedule a date and a time. 440-725-5462. That's 440-725-5462. Or you can email me at pat@speakupandstayalive.com. Oh, and be sure to come back next week. Same time, same place, but never the same information. Until then, I hope you have a healthy and a happy week. And be sure to watch the skies. I am Pat Rouleau, and I am your guide to safe and successful healthcare and hospital encounters.
Listen to Pat Rouleau and Speak Up and Stay Alive RadiOh. Stay safe from little-known healthcare and hospital hazards. To learn more, go to speakupandstayalive.com. That's speakupandstayalive.com. Hello? My name is Joe. Is this Pat Rouleau, the host of Speak Up and Stay Alive RadiOh?
Why, yes, it is.
Who are you?
Who am I? I am you. I am every person who has ever been in a hospital or doctor's office and has received less than acceptable treatment.
Who are you?
I am you. The person who got an infection during a simple outpatient procedure.
Wait, who are you?
I am you, the patient whose questions are ignored, who struggles to speak to the doctor as he or she has one foot out the door. I am the missed heart attack, the hospital-acquired infection, the wrong diagnosis, the unanswered call button.
Oh, so you're all about me. Do you have a quick tip to help me stay safe?
Take care of yourself by paying attention to infection opportunities. Where are they lurking? Waiting room magazines, TV remotes, elevator buttons, doorknobs, restrooms. The opportunity to acquire an infection in the hospital is huge. Germs and bacteria are everywhere. They float in the air, live on your clothes and hands, and reside on everything in sight. The consequences of a hospital-acquired infection are grave. Yet, prevention is simple. Be a germaphobe. Be a clean freak. And Joe, wash your hands often and remind others to wash theirs before touching you.
Listen to Pat Rouleau and Speak Up and Stay Alive RadiOh every Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. on WHKW AM 1220. Stay safe from little-known healthcare and hospital hazards. To learn more, go to speakupandstayalive.com. That's speakupandstayalive.com.